Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Miami. I promised you with our last live chat that we had in the COACHMC studio that we're gonna slightly relocate our studio facility and our endeavors for a couple of days, a couple of weeks into another place. And this is the place I was talking about, Miami. Today we're gonna be live and direct from this beautiful district called Wynwood Arts District. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the crazy history of this place, of this area, and why it is so important to the performing arts, to creativity, and what we can use from these impressions, from these inspirations, from these murals, from these walls, for our own acting endeavors, for our own creative endeavors, for our own communication purposes. So welcome everybody to the COACHMC studio. This is the place where we'll help you to shape unique behavior deliveries and where we'll help you to get recognized in the audition room. And if you're here for the first time and you're interested in powerful communication and arts and performing and all sorts of new and kind of unconventional methods to kind of propel your performance, your creative endeavors, then smash the like button, join the creative community. And if you're here already and you know us guys, then smash the like button as well to add some value to the algorithm so YouTube knows exactly what you cherish and value the most. And today we're gonna give you this wonderful exclusive tour through parts and branches of this beautiful area here, and what we can learn from these walls, what we can learn from this art, what we can learn from the history, from the cultural background, from this vibrant spirit, and how we can use it to propel our own style, our own performances. Shall we? Let's go. Let's hit it. Let's do it right now. So, as I was saying, we're here in the middle of Wynwood Walls Arts District, and this district here was founded in the 1920s, to be exact, in 1917. I'm going to cross the street and try not to get killed and run over by a car. By a guy named Isaiah Chailey, who moved here with his family in 1910. And he was a retail owner with his father. When his father retired from his business, he sold his business as well, and he started being involved in many developing projects. And he knew that Miami was about to expand to the north, so he bought some properties here with a good friend, Hugh Anderson, who was sort of Howard Hughes of Florida, a very charismatic millionaire who started as a hotel clerk in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then he moved his way up, and he partnered up with Isaiah, and they founded 1917 this beautiful area. And originally it was called Wynwood Park because the city of Miami immediately constructed a park around this new area, and later on the D was dropped and the park vanished, and that's how we got the name Wynwood. And as you can see, this is a beautiful spot for graffiti artists, for street artists, and right now we are in the middle of a boom time of this beautiful area here, of this district. But in the 20s it was full of retail, it was full of production units. Coca-Cola had a bottling plant here. There were some retail businesses going on, and later on the garment district was developed as well. So that's how fashion came to Wynwood. And in the late 20s, this was really like booming pretty much everywhere. After the Second World War, things changed rapidly, and more immigrants came over here. This is also an area that's called Pequeña San Juan, Little San Juan, because a lot of Puerto Ricans are here. Actually, a Puerto Rican lady, she passed away recently. She was like the unofficial mayoress of this area, of this town. So it's a very mixed, very cultural, diverse, very multi-ethnical, multi-racial, multi-artist zone that includes fashion, that includes wall art, street art, graffiti. And when in the 1980s, when there was this big flux and the Great Depression of the 80s, so this area was run down a little bit and abandoned, what happened was that the artists, they took over, they occupied the buildings. They occupied all these industrial complexes and buildings. And like in many, many other metropolises, they started, with their own art endeavor. They started painting, they started creating these magnificent walls Here we see like a wall dedicated to the recently passed Virgil Abloh, great designer of Louis Vuitton. And they started taking over this place that was really run down, and it was kind of a springboard community place for a lot of people that got over here to kind of move then to the richer places. But they wanted to use this back then cheap area to kind of get settled first and then see where they were moving. So it was like a transit zone in the 80s that was then occupied by the artists. And then the first big developers came in, Mr. Goldberg in the 2000s, and they started building and paying artists to kind of paint these walls, magnificent walls. As you can clearly see, everywhere you see and find graffiti, great art, stickers, characters, all sorts of stencils, beautiful pictures, images. And from the 2000s on, the developers came in, venture capitalists came in, Art Basel joined the game in Miami. So this area became hip, you might say. It became very quickly a hub for creatives, for artists, and also for software people, tech companies, because they feel very much inspired by this area. There's a lot of impressions that you can get on a daily basis, and it's located very nicely and very close to Brickell, very close to the city center. And so here you can see this beautiful art as well. So it's a nice place that isn't too expensive, except the shops, and that offers a lot for the eye and a lot of stimulation, and very vibrant, passionate, beautiful atmosphere filled with artists from all over the globe, people talking, exchanging, communicating. You can see black books and sketchbooks here everywhere, markers, people talking about art, about graffiti, painting everywhere. So it's great to be here because you're part of a big creative community. That's what the YouTube channel, the COACHMC Studio, stands for ultimately. And that's why we thought this might be a great idea. This might be a super idea to come here and to learn from these artists, from these walls, and to learn from the history and the cultural heritage of this beautiful area for our own acting purposes, for our own communicational, creative endeavors. Why? Because you see, now I gave you just a little short, brief cut through history. But in the 1980s here, this was a very rundown, kind of dangerous neighborhood. And what happened is, like in many other metropolis all over the globe, these rundown areas, since they are cheap and slightly dangerous, they get taken over by artists, right? Because they're cheap and because they find a lot of space in those old abandoned industrial buildings and facilities from the 1920s. They kind of relocated their workshops and they started, getting creative over here. And artists, just by using paint, just by using images, just by using contrast, and just by explaining their ideas and expressing their forms, they kind of revitalized this whole area, this whole district, this neighborhood. They gave a purpose to these walls. And you can find one of my more recent videos here on the YouTube channel where we talk about the creative wall and how important it is to kind of image yourself, to picture yourself as a painter in front of an empty wall. And what would you like to place on that wall? I'm sorry, I'm putting some shades on, not because I want to do, the fancy look here, but otherwise I don't see anything. And how important it is to kind of perceive a wall and to put some labor and some expression onto a wall and to transform something that is just made out of brick and stone into something that is vivid, that is organic, that kind of inspires people. And that's what happened to this area, and that's what can happen to you with your performance. See yourself as a creator, right? See yourself as somebody who wants to express something, to magnify what you got inside, and to project that magnification onto a blank sheet, onto something that can be perceived by your audience. That's the magnificence of art. That's the beauty of creation, of creativity. That's what we always talk about on this channel. So strongly suggest that you watch this video after this live session, because it kind of links in perfectly to what we're doing today. So in the 1980s, the artists took over, and they revitalized this whole area. And 20 years later, it already was some sort of some secret tip, right? Like the dark horse of Miami. And now, again, 20 years later, Wynwood is synonymous for art, for creativity. Now this is like a global thriving village, and all sorts of galleries are relocating into this area. Fashion companies, small manufacturers of brands, and investors are come to this place. There's construction going on all over the place. Hopefully I'm trying to kind of slalom around all these constructions that are going on right now, otherwise the audio kind of gets too crazy. But in 40 years, artists, with their sheer passion, with their lust of creating, with not asking anything in advance or nothing back, just being able to express, they revolutionized an area. They brought life, they brought wealth, they brought people to this place. And now this is a well-recognized area all over the world. I mean, Wynwood Walls is like a district that is, right now, it's famous. And people from Art Basel, right? Fancy, very rich people, galleries coming over to Miami, selling their art pieces. They're coming to Wynwood Walls to check out what the latest trends are, what's happening in the art scene, and also getting inspired by what's coming up, and looking for new styles, looking for new artists. So the power of art, that's what I'm always talking about, is something that is not always happening immediately. The power of art needs development, it needs improvement, it needs progress, it needs steady and constant belief in what you do. It needs practice, exercise over and over again. And you do it for the sake of the art. You don't do it for the immediate return. You invest in quality, not in quantity. You invest in putting in the most that you got every time you're getting called to action. And then you will see the result will come automatically. Then you will see, if you believe in your product and you work only on that people will recognize that you create that awareness for yourself, right? You put yourself on the map, like it happened to Wynwood. Now, I'm trying to show you some cooler walls, a bit more, bigger graffiti pieces. It's of course, I mean, you can check it out on the internet as well. There are some great pictures, stock footage that you can find on those various platforms. Famous people left their marks over here as well. But what I'm trying to tell you through these walls is shapes, contrast, color, right? Expression. This is what acting and communication and entertainment is also made of, right? You got definition, you got shadings, you got an expression, you got an overall very interesting, compact type of message. There's a story behind every line, behind every shading, behind every little crack that you place on the wall. And whether the wall is like a physical wall, like in this case, like a huge, gigantic, beautiful wall, or the wall is your inner wall, where you place all these puzzle pieces, all those mosaic, colorful pieces, and you place them together, you put them together, and you create a performance. So whether that's the metaphorical wall inside of yourself or the physical wall, it's all about creating contrast. It's all about putting the right colors onto it. It's all about experimenting and sometimes also failing, right? Not every piece is a genius piece, even though I like this piece, right? I'm just taking this just to show you something else. Not every piece is gonna be your best piece. Not everything that you develop as an artist is gonna be marvelous and magnificent and outstanding. But it's the progress that you will have while you're investing your time, your energy, your effort, and your passion in developing something that you have inside of yourself that is important. And then you can see, you can get world recognition. You can see, you can attract people. You pull people into your world. This is something that I always talk about. right? Now I'm here because of these walls, because of artists who did something for free, because they were believing in their shapes, because they had the urge, the necessity of expressing themselves, right? They couldn't go on another hour in their lives without doing this. And why am I so fascinated about this world? Because I used to be a graffiti artist. I was part of the street culture and still am, fortunately, hopefully, right? I grew up like this with the kids in the yards, with the boys hanging around and spraying and tagging and doing some illegal business, and all this was part of my self-taught education, like growing up on the street and competing with other artists, right? Very close to each other, you will find another artist doing something else, and then you were peeking to the other wall and saying, oh, he's better than me, I have to improve. Then coming back the next day. It's like athleticism in a way, right? You have to compete, but you have to evolve at the same time. So you don't think about opponents or other people that much. You think about yourself and your expression, but still, you kind of compare things, right? Because art is about comparing, about recognizing patterns, about seeing something that you can implement, steal from someone else and put it into your own art and then transform it by doing so. That's what art is all about. That's why we always recycle trends. That's why we will never find something new in fashion or in art, because it's all a recycling process. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. I mean, recycling means that there was something done that you can reuse, and sometimes forever. I mean, think about the Mona Lisa. Think about the David of Michelangelo. All these pieces, they will be used forever. They've been copied billions of times, right? All over the globe, you can find varieties of Mona Lisas, of Davids, and all these famous art pieces, right? You can fill up museums with that, and people will rush in and come into your museum for years, for thousands of years, for an eternity, right? That's how art is attracting people, because there is something like a message that lies underneath the art that tells people something very powerful about themselves, and it makes them wonder what the art is about that they are perceiving in that moment, and that kind of gives them clues about themselves, gives them clues about how they perceive the world and what's interesting to them. So watching art is always a reflection about ourselves, about our own psyche, about our own understanding. And acting is the same thing. It's a reflection about ourselves, because we have to borrow something out of our own system into that imaginary life, right? We give something into that other container. We put something into that other container that is the character that we interpret in that scene. And that thing, that can be reviewed and relived forever. And I mean, a museum is a movie in a way. Yeah? If you look at a movie, then you have a museum, because a movie is full of art. It's full of different pictures. It's a visualization of different artists and their views of the world. Right? A movie is nothing else than a museum that moves, that has dynamic. It can be perceived forever. And people will link into that forever. Great movies, you can rewatch them forever. So look at this wall, right? For example. I mean, it's a very graphic, very simple way of putting it, right? You have a black backdrop, and then you have these swirling around lines, right? 3, 4 colors max. And they're all kind of intersecting with each other. They're all moving. They have a dynamic. They have an expression. Even though it's not a clear shape, it's not a form, it's not a face, it's not a building, it's not demonstrating or illustrating something specific. Maybe here you can see there is like a iguana type, reptilian type of face going on. But the rest it's really just colors and motion, right? And colors and motion, it's emotion for the actor. So sometimes when we ask ourselves, when we need to practice our speech, our monologue, our presentation, of course we need structure. We need a container that functions, that is effective, that can hold, right? And contain our expression, our emotions. But I think sometimes we are obsessed about perfectionism, obsessed about not making any mistakes, obsessed about that everything has to be perfectly mapped and planned out. But as you can clearly see there, the expression is the movement in itself. It's not because we see something illustrated perfectly and accurately. It's because we see something that kind of moves us, right? A dynamic, something that makes sense. We got a nice shark joker going on here. As actors, we are the Amazon of emotion. We are delivering emotions. Internet is kind of shit. I'm sorry, guys. This is live and direct. It happens when we're going live. Unexpected things will pop up all of a sudden. But hope you guys perceive me well. Just let me know. I can't see your comments right now really quick. All messages of this. Cool, das zu sehen und dann noch was zu hören. Alex, very cool. Thanks for joining the show today. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. So back on track. When we're creating a wall, when we're creating a piece like that, it's like creating that monologue, right? It's our inner expression. And sometimes it has more structure, sometimes it has less structure, but what it always has to have, what it needs to have, it's an expression, it's a belief, it's something that drives us. It's something that it kind of illustrates how we're feeling in that moment, right? And even if sometimes that is kind of crazy and irrational, right? We have that leopard, ocelot type of, mountain lion type of face and skull placed on that beautiful purple lady. Doesn't really belong to the lady, but then in a way, they put this together in such a marvelous and beautiful way that it kind of fits and it makes sense. So what might seem irrational and crazy in the beginning, then when it's finished, then when the expression has a complete and beautiful framing and the context is right, then all of a sudden it makes totally sense. Then all of a sudden we're back, right? Don't think too much about that. But see yourself, picture yourself like an artist in front of that wall, like a graffiti artist, like a street artist, like somebody who's an activist of subculture, right? What do you want to portray? What kind of emotion do you want to show? What should the audience perceive? What kind of emotion should they get from your art? What is it that they should go home with as a thought, as an emotion, as a tendency, right? What is it that you want to implement? What kind of ideas do you have? And just show them. Like this. Just show them. It doesn't matter if it's irrational, if everything works perfectly fine, if proportions are out of balance sometimes, if the static works or not. It can be shaky, it can be crazy, it can be slightly inclined, oblique, whatever. Important thing is that it's truthful, that it's authentic. Like this area stands for that authentic delivery I'm always talking about. This area is a perfect example of what can happen if people are just sticking to their core, if they're just believing in their product, if they're standing for something, for a message, for something that they can't live without, something they would actually do for free. Because guess what? Yeah, there were some artists that were actually paid to do, there's like this open gallery. We actually wanted to go there in the first place today. But then, unfortunately, they just take cards. And since we lost our cards on this trip and we had to kind of reorder them, and we just had cash in our pockets, they wouldn't accept our cash. So that's why we said, when we said, okay, let's just, just stroll down the streets, because I think you guys get the idea. And I like those kind of, street pieces that were made for free even better, because they show truthfully what Steve Jobs was always talking about. Steve Jobs, in one of his most famous interviews, once said, and that sounds, again, it sounds like common knowledge, right? To most of you guys, probably. But it is the fundamental, it is the cornerstone. It is truly the cornerstone of what a great performance is all about. So if you are willing to do something for free because you love it, because you can't live without it, if you are willing to put all of your efforts, all of your sweat, all of your passion, like I always say, into something that just belongs to you, because it makes so much fun to you to create that, the customers will come. The people will perceive your image, your quality. Are you investing in quality or in instant gratification? Because if you invest in quality, on the long run, you're gonna be the one who wins. If you just invest in instant gratification, then your view is gonna be short-sighted and always powered by the will of monetizing it immediately. And that doesn't work for art. For art, you never know when it's your turn. Even if you're doing it right now, you're investing in it right now, it might turn out to be a success just in a couple of years. Like the metaphor of this area, of this district, right? They invested 40 years ago heavily into this area. Artists came here, they quit their jobs, they moved away from their towns, from their areas, from their districts, from their jobs, because they wanted to be here, because they saw an opportunity and they believe in the investment in themselves, in their development, in their progress, in their magnification of their talents. Sometimes as artists, we have to get back to that feeling. That's what Steve Jobs said. If you invest in your quality and you believe in your product and you genuinely love what you do and you would do it actually for free, people will recognize. You will have success. You will come to that summit point. You will reach that level of mastery. But if you are just driven by the instant gratification, by success and revenue that has to happen on the spot, otherwise you're not sufficiently satisfied, then the way you are grounding your work, the fundamentals that you're laying down for your work, they won't be based on quality. And if they are not based on quality, they are not based on what you love. And if you're not basing your work on what you really love and what you want to develop, how many opportunities we can really like going out, being around with friends, going to a great party, all this stuff, right? I'm not telling you to live like a erudite or like an eremit somewhere, right? Like a recluse in your little cabin in the woods and just, think about, developing your art, because that will again lead to isolation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the right time to invest in yourself and do things that you are really gratified by when you're doing that, and then you feel accomplished because you're doing something that just belongs to you, because it gives you control over your actions. It gives you control over what you love. It gives you control of your art. It gives you control of what you actually want to pursue, and not what somebody else tells you to pursue in order, to give you some little revenue and a little check by the end of the month that won't gratify you at all, because you're not really doing what you love. Coming back to that concept, you can see, look at the layers, look at the hours, look at the minute, how many people got here, and they continue, and they will go on forever until this building stands. People will come here and paint this, erase and do it again, erase and do it again. Good morning, good evening, Black Beauty TV. Thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you so much, guys. Now, so that was my first rant for 3 minutes on straight. Tell me what you think about it so far. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you like the content value of this video, if you like these pieces here, smash the like button. Join the notification squad by activating the bell, so every time we grind out a new video, you will be the first to know. The first who plays is the first who gets paid. So be the first to play the COACHMC studio. You always need to be the first. For yourself, not for the others, not for success. You always need to be the first. The first to stand up, the first to believe in yourself. Nobody else will do that. The first who comes up with a different solution, the first who will be standing in front of this wall. Because if you're the first in front of this wall, you're claiming the spot, you're claiming the wall. So you can start your painting, you can start your drawing. If you're the last, you have to wait. You have to stand in line. And maybe someone else is gonna take away your opportunity. Somebody else is gonna take that job. Somebody else is gonna get offered that great, new, wonderful endeavor. And not you, because you weren't the first. If you want to paint a wall, you need to be the first. You need to, stand up in the middle of the night. You need to map out exactly what you want to do. You need to sketch it out on your black book. You need to collect all the colors during the week. Maybe you need to get some money, you know, to buy all the cans, all the tape, all the requirements, all the paint, all the brushes that you need. That's a lot of work, and they do it for free. And now this is a world market. Art is a world market. Acting is a world market. You are part of that. You already are part of this community. So be the first. Stand up. Invest in your quality. Invest in your art. What is it that you want to express? What kind of feeling should people perceive? What is the peak that you are searching for? Like Dali always said, I'm not interested in the flat ground. I'm always interested in the peak. That's Dali, and his citation I'm using right now very deliberately because it fits perfectly. Right? He was a crazy guy, but he was doing things for the very first time that no one else did. Like somebody else is coming here is recording a video as well because they are believing in their product as well. Right? You're believing in your product, right? You believe in your art, right? All these people here, they believed in art. They believed in something. They believe in their walls. They believe in their art. They believe in their colors and their shapes. You need to do that too. That's how you attract customers. That's how you attract the production companies. That's how you attract the big outlets and the little ones. So we leave these guys alone. We won't disturb them. So far, so good. Let's cross the street without getting killed. I'm gonna show you a couple of some more walls, and then I think we can cut this this live tour through the amazing Wynwood Arts District. I'm gonna show you some other great pieces and what we can learn from them. I'm so happy to be here. Every time I travel to a new town, to a new city, the first places I check out, it's always the design district, it's always the arts district, because there I learn from the culture. Because this is culture. This is a creative community. People coming together to express themselves, and they learn from each other. They exchange information. Like I was literally, I wish I could have, shown you this what just happened a couple of minutes ago. I was just there, just location scouting and doing my thing, and just, taking some mental notes, and people were just approaching me. And just telling, what are you doing? Are you visiting? Are you an artist yourself? Yeah, you look like artsy street culture type. Yes, that's what I do. Is like, yeah, and then they just kind of asked me, and then we connected, and then we exchanged Instagram accounts, and then we set up a meeting for next week for an interview. I'm gonna show you the interview. It's gonna be on the channel, so it's real talk here, right? And then we're talking about the art and what they like most and where they are from, and that's how somebody who is from Munich, who was born in Sicily, who's acting in German, who's now in Miami, is connecting to another artist that came from Kentucky, that lived in New York, but they wanted to join the crowd and the culture here, because culture brings people together from all sorts of colors, from all sorts of backgrounds, from all sorts of social differences and statuses. So it really doesn't matter who you are, what your name is, what you're claiming, what your sexual interests, orientations are, and where you want to go, because culture brings people together. Culture makes things great. Culture attracts. It's not about the revenue when we're talking about culture. It's about the quality. The quality creates the revenue automatically. Money comes in, success comes in as a secondary product if you're focusing on your culture, on your development, on the quality of your art. It doesn't need to be always all over the place, right? Sometimes easy shapes, easy contrasts, very few colors can be enough. Sometimes you need to go crazy. It's about you expressing what you got inside of yourself. And look at this. I mean, I'm strolling around here now for I don't know how long, like 35 minutes, right? And I feel privileged because you're still here, right? I will show you like 360 degrees what's going on this street here. That's why I always check out arts districts first, because I connect with people who are sharing my culture. That's what I say also, that's what I tell to my clients, to my students. You want to become an actor? Then go where the actors are. Connect with the culture. Talk about movies. Talk about filmmaking. Talk about art. Talk about exchanging information, inspiration. Connect with the people, with the relevant players. You can't pretend that art comes to you. You can't pretend that acting comes to you, that the entertainment industry comes to you. You are going to the art. You are creating the art. You are connecting with the relevant players, with the production company. You are connecting with entertainment, right? You go there, and then you become part of the culture. And then from the inside, you can revolutionize the culture a little bit by adding something on your own, by adding your own product, by adding your own little mosaic piece. Does that make sense to you guys? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much, guys. Just checking out some messages here. Mi diverto, mi piacerebbe visitarla, assolutamente vieni qua, è una città incredibile, bellissima, piena d'arte, piena di cultura, piena di persone molto molto interessanti. And you see, there is a niche for everything. Like this wall here, it's more like a science fiction type of wall where we have some pieces and elements from the future, some spaceships. And then we have some crazy animals running around. I wouldn't even be sure how to call them in the first place. Like crazy birds. I don't know what kind of bird that is, but it's living in Wynwood, so it must be a very cool artsy bird. Hope you guys can see it there. What kind of bird is that? I don't know. Crazy things happening here. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tour. I hope you enjoyed this piece of inspiration, this sunny, radiant, colorful, expressive information that we have the privilege to see from all these magnificent, incredible artists from all over the globe. I truly feel privileged to do this and to share this with you guys. Hope you enjoyed this so far. And yeah, if there's any message, you have to believe in your art. You have to believe in your colors. You have to invest as much as you can. You have to exercise. You have to fail. You have to do it again. You have to repeat the cycle over and over. Find something that's interesting to you and develop that. And don't think about the inner critical voices. Because I want to leave you with this. Your inner voices, they will always claim the ground of negativity. Your inner voices will always kind of wave you down. Your inner voices will always make you believe that there's someone out there who's better. There's always a better artist. There's always a better creator. There's always somebody who's more ingenious than you are. And that might be true. Yes, but you can learn from these people. Your inner voices, they will always tell you to be lazy, to stay at home, to play it safe, to don't risk anything. But instead of listening to your inner voices, you should look outward and perceive the beauty of the world and listen to the outer voices, listen to the opinions, to the real opinions. You know, get educated by great teachers, get educated by great artists, get educated by the critique. Don't be afraid by the critique, because once you implement the critique, you get better with the critique. You get better by the right measures, by using the right instruments, the right tools, right? Don't listen to the critical judgment from your ego that wants to sit on the couch and do nothing and risk nothing and gain nothing, right? Just being in that comfortable, mediocre zone where nothing really happens. We want things to happen for us. We need to get out on the yard and paint and produce and express and risk and fail and hurt ourselves in the process. We need to listen to the outward voices and to really, really understand and process the information by truthfully listening to what is going on around us and what we really perceive, and then we implement that. We implement sharp contrast, beautiful colors, great expression, and we try to reach something that is a truthful expression of what we are and what we want to tell and what we want to give to the people, to the audience. And then you become an artist, because the research makes the artist, not the end product. Could be something completely else. It doesn't matter what's the finished product on the wall. It really doesn't matter what you are actually producing. It's the process itself that's important, that lets you grow. Not the final product, but the process. Like what I said, we need to program. We need to sketch it out. We need to fulfill that organizational procedure, right? We need to think about different things, problems that might come up, surprises that might come up. We have to think about what is happening when we are doing it, like being on stage, right? What is happening? Program that. And then once we've structured everything, once we know it, we can leave it behind. And then we can start something completely else and deal with the unexpected, deal with the surprises, create those surprises for ourselves so we can surprise the audience, like this plane right now, right? When we have that, we have freedom. Freedom of our choices, control over our actions, and absolutely a sense of awareness of what our instruments actually are. And when you got that, you got a road. You got something to walk on, something that is tangible, that belongs to you. And once you got a road, somewhere you will find like a target, a mission, where to go with this road, and who to invite on that road, on that quest. Somebody who follows you, somebody who accompanies you, somebody who is part of that process. And that is what this creative community is all about. So I'm leaving you with this piece here from this beautiful community, from this great district. I hope you got inspired by these words, by these pieces. If you got any further questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Please visit my website. It's the COACHMC.studio, right? And ask me questions if you want to connect with me, if you want to create an amazing self-tape, a great show reel, if you want to tape a monologue, if you have any questions about your upcoming audition, if there is like a presentation or like a negotiation is coming up in your life and you want to be fully prepared because you want a truthful and authentic and powerful communication set in place, call me up. Visit my Instagram. There's a lot of art going on there too. It's the COACHMC. DM me there if you got any further questions. If you want to join the creative community, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button. Activate it right now. So every time we grind out the new video, you will be the first to see it. Be the first to play, and then you are the first who gets paid. See you next time, guys, with the next video from another location. That's it. And now I'm gonna enjoy this.
Let's go eat something.